Hi guys, my name is Vikram Thakur. Welcome to this video on ETL. In the previous videos, I have given an overview about data warehousing and its architecture. In this video, we're going to talk about one of the most important aspects of data warehousing, which is ETL. So let's get started. ETL stands for extract, transform and load. As we mentioned in the previous videos, that data is read from the heterogeneous sources, from the source systems, and loaded into staging table, and then finally after the transformations are complete, it is loaded into a data warehouse. So the complete process of extracting the data, transforming the data and loading the data into warehouse is called extract, transform and load. It is not a one-off process for a data warehousing, because data in the operational systems and the source systems keeps on changing. So this is a regular process where the data has been regularly fetched from the source system and loaded into a warehouse after transformations are complete. So this is important aspect of the warehousing, because if the source data from the operational systems and the source system is not extracted, cleansed and integrated into a proper format in the warehouse, then it will be difficult to perform the query processing efficiently, which is the ultimate purpose of the data warehousing. So ETL has three phases. First is the extraction part, second is the transformation, and third is the loading of the extracted and the transformed data into the warehouse. So let's look into each of these three stages in detail. So first is the data extraction. So as we earlier mentioned, the data from the various sources has been extracted into the staging area as a first step in the data warehousing. So there are a couple of data extraction strategy. First is the full extraction, wherein all the data from the operational systems and all the source systems gets extracted into the staging area. So this generally happens in two scenarios. One, for the initial load when the data warehouse is getting populated first time, or in scenarios where we do not have any strategy for identifying the changed record. So we extract the full data and do all the transformation and identify all the changed or the modified records on the staging area. So in this strategy, we extract all the data from the source systems into our staging server. Next is the partial extraction with update notification. So sometimes we get the notification from the source systems that which data has been updated, which data has been deleted, and which data is the new data. So this is also called the delta, and in this strategy we only extract the data which has been modified, and it is easy and quick as compared to the full extraction. And the next strategy is the partial extraction without update indication. So in this strategy, we do not extract the full data set from the source system. We extract the data based on certain keys or certain strategies. For example, we have populated data, or we have already extracted data till yesterday. So we extract today's data and then we identify all the updates on that data. One thing we need to remember while extracting the data from source system is that it should be designed in a way that it does not negatively affect the source system performance, because source system is generally where all the actual business and the transaction happens. So we should design our system or schedule our system to run at that time that it should not negatively affect the source system performance. So let's move on to the next phase, which is the transformation phase. So the data extracted into the staging server from the source system is in a raw format, and we cannot use the data as it is. It has to be cleansed, mapped as per the requirement and transformed before it is finally ready for loading into a data warehouse. So this stage, all the transformations, all the cleansing and all the mappings happen. So let's look at the basic transformation tasks. First is the selection, wherein we select the data which is required to be loaded into a data warehouse or which is actually meant to be transformed. So in this step we select those data. Next step is the matching. In this step we look up the data from various lookup files and then match the data that needs to be transformed. Next part is data cleansing and enrichment. So data is not cleansed in our source systems. It is not standardized because we are fetching the data from more than one source system. So it has to be standardized or normalized. Hence we do the data cleansing and enrichment. And the last is consolidation and summarization. As we mentioned earlier, we consolidate and aggregate the data from the source system because we do not want to load same data from the source system into a warehouse. Hence we consolidate, summarize and aggregate the data from the source system in the transformation phase. So let's look at some of the sample transformations that we apply on a data. First is the standardizing data. As I mentioned earlier, data has been fetched from various sources and then it needs to be standardized before loading into a warehouse. Character set conversion and encoding handling. We also need to convert the data into a defined encoding in the data warehouse because the source system may or may not have the same encoding. We calculate and derive new columns from the existing columns. We split and merge fields, split it from a single field to multiple fields, and then we combine some fields as well, and this all happens based on the requirements. We convert units because source system may have a different way of storing a particular measurement, but we convert into a standard format. For example, we convert the date time, we convert the units of measurements into a standard format. Do summarization, aggregation of data and consolidation. Deduplication is also done as a part of transformation, in which we delete the duplicate data that we receive from multiple sources, and then finally we do the key restructuring. Key restructuring is important because we do not use the same keys that we use in our operational system in our data warehouse. In data warehouse has a concept of surrogate keys. Surrogate key are the non-meaningful keys, and it should be generated irrespective of the keys or the primary keys defined in the source systems. So we design our data warehouse so that we populate the surrogate keys using the data from the source systems. So next is loading the data into the warehouse from the staging server. We fetches the prepared data in the transformation phase and load it into a data warehouse. Now there are types of loading strategies we use. First is the initial load. As I mentioned, when we load the data for the very first time, we do not care about identifying the newly or the modified records. We generally take the whole data set from the staging server and load it into a data warehouse. So this is a one-off process, and it is generally done when the data is going to be populated for the very first time in the data warehouse. Next is the incremental load. So this is when we apply all the ongoing changes from the source system into the data warehouse periodically. So in this we only load the records which has either changed or the newly inserted records into source systems. And the last is full refresh. We sometimes require to do a full refresh as well, which is basically completely erasing the contents of one or more tables and loading the fresh data. For certain tables we do not want to keep the history of changes, so it is better if we completely erase those tables and load all the data which is extracted from the source systems. So this completes about the loading strategies. So next is the ETL tools. We have a couple of ETL tools. There are enterprise softwares which are Informatica, IBM DataStage, Microsoft integration services, ab initio, and Talent and Clover ETL. These are full-fledged enterprise softwares. We have a couple of open source and community softwares as well, which is Pintaho Cattle and Talent. Clover also has a open source version, but it is very limited to certain transformations only. Now let's look at what are the features and capabilities of ETL tools. The data connectivity with the source and the target system. The ETL tool should allow to connect to the source system and the target data systems efficiently and seamlessly. Next is scalability and performance. We should not be able to change a job in order to perform it better whenever our data has been increased, whenever our business do some acquisition. So we should scale the ETL jobs by adding more clusters. ETL tool should have a lot of pre-built transformation connectors which allows us to do the transformation easily and quickly. ETL tool should also have a data profiling and data cleaning components which allows to standardize and clean the data, because the data from the source system may or may not be clean or may not be in the same format. So data profiling and data cleansing allow us to make the data standardized and improve the data quality. ETL tools should also have a capabilities to easily perform logging and exception handling. It should have a robust administration features which allow us to schedule the jobs, which allow us to assign the jobs to particular users, and which allows multiple developers to work simultaneously on the same project. It should have connectors to easily integrate with web services. ETL tools should allow and give the capability to perform the operations in batch as well as the real time. So this completes our overview about the ETL. I hope you guys have liked this video. If yes, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you want to see more videos.